Here I am live again, making a fool out of myself, or some people believe I am, which that's your choice. But unfortunately, guys, we're not in normal times, and like I said before, it's not because of the virus. It's because there's other sinister things going on behind the scenes that some people choose to dismiss and don't want to believe is happening. And that's fine, because you're going to see for yourself exactly what's going to go on. If you look at what's going on right now, I posted a story where ADRIAN and I saw this on the news as well, where they said things will not be going back to normal at least 2022. Do you know how far that is from now? 2022. 2022 is a year and a half away. So nothing's going to get back to normal, and this pandemic is going to be with us until 2022. And they said that why? They said that's because we've had spikes. We've had the biggest day spikes ever. How many spikes what's the spikes? Oh, we've had 100 cases in a day. Oh, wow. So we have 100 cases in a day. So that's a reason to crash the economy. And that's a reason, basically, ADRIAN said, there's so many cases now, 100 cases a day, that nothing's going to go back to normal until 2022. That's a year and a half away. I don't know what people are thinking. A lot of people just kind of think that all this is going to go away. It's not going to go away. And the quicker you understand that, the quicker you should start researching and realizing none of this will go away. This is not about a virus. And one of the reasons I do this video is because I watch this one guy, this Greek guy who lives in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia. He's an outspoken person like me, and hey guys, and he yells and screams and stuff like that. Do you realize in Melbourne they're still locked down, and they're actually talking now about mandatory vaccines? I just double-checked that, and that seems like it's the case, according to abc.com.au. It's an ABC affiliate in Australia. So now they're talking about mandatory vaccines in Australia. God help us. God help us. Now we're at a situation here where they're talking about mandatory vaccines for a fucking virus that has an over 99% survival rate. You know, everyone's sitting on the sidelines thinking all this shit is going to pass. And like I said this before, these videos basically repeat themselves with a little bit of new information. But at the end of the day, while you're sitting on the sidelines, talking yourself out of this situation that we're in, while you don't think it's actually real, and you're basically making it seem like this is not as bad as this guy's saying, he's just a crazy kook conspiracy theorist. While you're saying that, this rollout, the slow rollout, losing of our freedoms continues. So now they're telling us nothing's going to get back to normal until 2022, ADRIAN said, the health minister for British Columbia, because of the resurgence in cases. Wow. So now people don't even have to die anymore for the fear to continue. Now it's just all about cases. And it doesn't even matter that most of these people, like I'm talking, there's only about 10 people in the hospitals, if that. So there's not even 10 people in hospitals, not even dead, 10 people in hospitals out of 5 million. And now we get to lose more of our freedoms because the cases are rising. Basically, things will not get back to normal until 2022, a year and a half from now, minimum. And people, I don't know if people have watched the news. That's what he said, and that's what I've seen myself. This is unbelievably shocking. We're going to have to be in the situation that we're in for another year and a half, at least, if this goes on until January of 2022. You have to understand how far that is in advance. 2022, a year and a half from now, that's a long fucking time. And I know more people will wake up and understand, but at this point in the game, 6 months later, when this was supposed to be 2 weeks, people should start realizing that none of this shit is going to end. It's not designed to end. This is just a stepping stone in the New World Order agenda. And I've done another video like this. It was an hour long. I did this last week. Shared it with different people and stuff like that. And people don't want to see. They think I'm fucking crazy and I'm a moron. Like, I don't know what people think. They probably think I'm losing my mind. You can think what you want if you keep your head in the sand. And it's up to you if you want to do that. But I promise you, my friends, you will not be able to keep your fucking head in the sand forever. 6 months later, we're still here. Now the cases are rising. Okay, let's look at this. The cases are rising. Okay, it means they're testing more people, right? It doesn't mean there's a lot more people dying. The amount of people dying is still under, it's about 196, and it's been in the 190 range for months now. This whole virus thing has ended. They just want to keep continuing along with this charade and along with this bullshit as long as they possibly can. There's nothing legitimate about locking down the British Columbian economy for 6 months now because 200 people have died. More than 200 people have died from suicides. More than fucking 200 people have died from drug overdoses. How many people have fucking died from cancer in 2 months? But in 6 months, thousands. But you don't hear about that. All you hear about is this bullshit fucking virus. And this is a worldwide thing. And people think I'm the fucking crazy one. If you still think this is a virus, you're the fucking crazy one. When are you going to get your head out of your ass and understand this is not about a virus at all? And I've had so many arguments with people like that. People lost friends and not talking to family members. I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm just one person. You probably hear it from other people. There's got to be other people in your lives saying the same shit to you. You need to understand and get your head out of your ass because none of this shit is going to change. Adrian Dix said this is going to go on until 2022, a year and a half from now. A year and a half. And it doesn't matter about the crashed economy. It doesn't matter about all the businesses closed, suicides, drug overdoses, everything else. We're all worried about all these deaths. 200 people died, most of them in fucking health facilities, in old folks' homes. The people dying have underlying issues over 60, 70 years old, and we're still playing this stupid game. Now, let's talk about those cases. So they're saying, Adrian Dix has said there's over 100 cases, the most ever in one day in British Columbia. Okay, let's believe him at that. But in the same token, my kids are supposed to go back to fucking school next month. So all you stupid morons, if you guys think this is a deadly disease, okay, 100 cases a day, let's all shit our pants. But then why the fuck would you send your kids back to school if you're worried about this virus? If the government is so worried about this virus that nothing can get back to normal until 2022, all you people with parents, all the friends watching, are you going to send your kids back to school? Are you going to send your kids back to school wearing fucking masks now, next month? Meanwhile, the cases are surging. You can't have it both ways. Either the virus is real, either this virus is real, then don't bring your kids back to fucking school. Don't bring your kids back to school. You can't have it both ways. If the virus is real, you don't bring your fucking kids back to school. You can't have it both ways. And you're going to bring your fucking kids back to school and wear masks? Are you morons? And I'm not mad at my friends, but seriously, all my friends, fight back. Don't bring your kids back to fucking school. Do whatever it takes. Enough is enough. If you don't believe in this virus, keep your kids home. Because they can't have it both ways. They're telling us there's a resurgence of virus. There's a resurgence of cases. Okay, if we believe that, why would we in our right minds bring our kids back to a school that in this environment, all these cases are coming back now? Why would we do it? Are we stupid? Like, how does it make sense? In one version, the government's saying there's a resurgence of cases. We can't open anything up. You know, we're going to have to start enforcing laws. You cannot have these parties with 20 friends. But school's opening up next month and you got to wear a mask. If this is a deadly disease, it's a deadly fucking virus everywhere. So why would I bring my kids back to school if this virus is so deadly? I don't get it. I don't understand how people fall for this stupid bullshit. Get some balls and speak up. Okay, you need to understand. You need to understand that it's not about a virus. This whole thing is a totally different situation. But I'm talking to the people who think this is a virus and are thinking about sending their kids back to school. Why would you do that? That means you're not paying attention. It means you're simply not thinking. You cannot have it both ways. If you think this is a real virus, don't send your kids back to school. And I don't think it's a real virus, and I'm not even going to send my kids back to school because I don't want to follow this bullshit. My fucking kids are not going to wear these stupid goddamn masks in fucking school. This whole thing is bullshit, like I've said so many times. 200 people died in, 7 months? That is about one person for... It's not even... I think it's about one person per day. The last time I checked, it was about 1.3 people per day. So it's almost 1.5 persons per day. One person per day is dying from COVID-19 in BC. We have to change our whole way of life. Mandatory masks everywhere. Now my kids have to wear masks to go to school. Are you fucking nuts? Are you nuts? If you don't believe in this virus, don't send your kids back. And even if you do, don't send your kids back. You got to have some balls and stand up for your rights. We're losing all our freedoms for nothing. And this is a worldwide thing, my friends. Let me read what some of these people are saying here. Government workers like me are still working from home and probably not going back to the office till January, and kids are going back to school. Messed up. Exactly, Fonz. Exactly. When Trump wins, I want to drive down Commercial Drive with my Trump flag sticking out my roof. We can trigger all the fucking soy boy libtards. Yes, fuck them. But seriously, though, thanks for commenting, guys. I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I'm not going to lose my mind over this shit. But at the end of the day, people who think this is a real pandemic really need to ask questions. I've done an hour video on this that I've sent to a lot of you guys already last week. And I've done shitloads of YouTube videos, and people still think I'm the crazy one. Meanwhile, 7 months later, we're still in this ridiculous situation. Now we're going to send our kids back to wear masks in school while there's a pandemic, while there's a resurgence of cases. I don't get it. If there's a resurgence of cases, I'm not going to bring my kids anywhere near these stupid fucking schools. And there's so many different ways to cut this and prove it's not a legitimate pandemic, but people still want to play the game, and they're making mandatory masks everywhere, mandatory vaccines coming. I don't know when people are going to stand up and realize this is not about a virus. If this was about a virus, then things would have been a lot different than they are. This whole situation is all about mandatory vaccines. If you look at what's going on in Australia, they're actually talking about mandatory vaccines. They were talking about on Australian news today. So now we can't even opt out of getting a vaccine for something that has an over 99% survival rate that mostly kills old people. This is the most stupid, ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I find it embarrassing that I'm doing the work of journalists. These morons are just paid shills. They don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. And at the end of the day, here I am screaming at the top of my lungs into my phone like a retard. Why? Because anytime you listen to the news, they just scare the shit out of you, and everyone's following in line. Like, nothing's going to change until we stand up. And some of the people watching this, friends of mine, I'm not going to name names, they think this is real. Good for you. Congratulations. One day you're going to wake up and understand, holy shit, he was right about this, and this whole thing is way overblown. And people can talk about the cases and everything they want. At the end of the day, all they have now in British Columbia, since the deaths are going way down, we haven't had many. The deaths are sitting at about 195, 196. There was, if you look at the actual cases or the deaths, there was a certain amount of deaths, and that was March, April, and then May, it started going down. And it's continued to go down. So now, in order to keep the fear going, it's all about these stupid fucking cases. They don't talk about the deaths anymore because the deaths are so goddamn low that they don't want to talk about it. So they're scaring us with cases. And all they're gonna continue doing is testing more people. And the way they use these tests, most people actually are positive. They come back positive with these cases. But yeah, you need to realize, just because you have COVID-19 or coronavirus, it doesn't mean you're going to get sick. It doesn't mean you're going to die. Most of the people tested are asymptomatic, meaning they have no symptoms whatsoever. So what the fuck is everyone talking about? We're going to get tested for a virus, and then most of us are going to become asymptomatic. So I'm going to get tested for COVID-19, And then the doctor is going to say, yes, you have coronavirus. And I'm going to be like, I don't even feel like I'm not sick. I have nothing. I'm asymptomatic, meaning they tell me I have the COVID-19 virus, but I don't feel anything. So all these different things are completely rigged, in my opinion. It really, at the end of the day, honestly, we're into this 6-7 months. When are people going to get their heads out of their asses and start asking some serious questions? I really don't know what to say. The other video I did was much better. I did an hour-long video, and I pretty much blew it out of the water. Every single thing you could imagine, I destroyed. And to me, it's not making any sense. A lot of people are on board. There's a couple people still are falling for this stuff, and they're slow to understand that this thing is ridiculous. It's going to continue. You know when this is going to end? Until they say, "Hey, the vaccine's ready, guys. Now you can jab that needle in your arm." And like I said in the other video, I'm pretty much reiterating all the information from that. This vaccine is going to be developed. They fast-tracked. That's a nice little phrase. They fast-tracked the vaccine. It'll be developed in under a year. Meanwhile, it usually takes 9 years to develop a safe vaccine. So all you people who think there's a real pandemic, all you people who trust your government and your health officials, do you think they're actually standing for your health when they're going to fast track a fucking vaccine that usually takes 9 years to develop, you fucking idiots? 9 years, but they're going to do it in 1 year, and you're going to put that needle in your arm like a moron, and then you think you're going to be safe? You think you're going to be safe. Meanwhile, there's vaccine liability. Vaccine liability meaning you cannot even sue these people if you have vaccine injury from the COVID-19 vaccine. And who's developing that vaccine? Who's developing it? Bill Gates is the #1 funder. You just look all this shit up. You can read the white papers. You can see at the bottom of these research papers on websites, not like actual paper, but on these websites, research and funding by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This guy's got his paws into everything. He's the #1 funder for the World Health Organization. That's why he's the guy on TV discussing how nothing's going to get back to normal until there's a vaccine. Him, Justin Trudeau, and all these other puppets and scumbags. And I don't know how people are still falling for this shit. Like I've said so many times, this is 2020. We've had the fucking internet for 20 years. Everybody uses the internet for what? Taking pictures of their fucking food, taking pictures of the handbag, taking pictures of them down at the beach, and this shit. Why don't you use it to research information? Research what the fuck is going on in the world, because you're being lied to constantly. So you're telling me they're going to fast track a vaccine. It's going to be a safe vaccine. This will be the first time in history they've created a vaccine that's safe in like under a year. But yeah, we're going to believe them, because why are we going to believe them? Well, just because, they're our health officials. They wouldn't lie to us. They're not corrupt. Yeah, they're not corrupt. Meanwhile, they're getting all their funding from the World Health Organization, you morons. It is amazing to me that people are falling for this stuff. And I understand the more this continues, more people are going to realize that it's all bullshit. But I want everyone to realize now it's all bullshit. We need to stand up, not for ourselves, but for our fucking kids. If we as men cannot stand up for our children, we're a bunch of fucking pussies. If you can't leave a comment and say, you know what, cause you're right. You know what, this is bullshit. And you guys are all wimps, pussies. If you can't stand up for your own kids because you're scared about what other people think of you, you're fucking wimps. And I'm not talking to these people in particular. I'm just talking in general. A lot of people are just chicken shits, and they don't even have the balls to express how they feel on a computer. It's not like you have to sit there and confront me in person. But for God's sakes, look at the situation we're in 6 months later. This was supposed to be 2 weeks. Remember? Some of you guys watching, remember you guys said it was going to be 2 weeks. We're going to be as bad as Italy. And I'm not knocking anyone here. You guys, you didn't know what was going on. I'm like, and I said, no, I don't think so. But whatever, we didn't know anything. That was 2 weeks. Remember, in March, Dr. Bonnie said, we have to close the economy down for 2 weeks because we need to make sure that the hospitals aren't overwhelmed. Well, what happened? They're not overwhelmed. They're fucking empty. This is 6-7 months later. And now the problem we have, you know what the problem we have now is? They're building up the momentum. Now we got a resurgence in cases. And the thing is, they don't blame it on the Black Lives Matter protests that were happening in May and April, May. 7,000 people here in Vancouver. 6,000 or 7,000 people, not one COVID-19 case. You can read all this stuff I'm telling you. I've researched it. I've read it all. This is not coming out of my ass. So there was not one case, they tell us on the news, from these fucking marches, these Black Lives Matter, George Floyd protest marches, whatever you want to call them. There wasn't one COVID case. And the thing is, I read news from all over the world, and these news articles, even in places like Chicago, Minneapolis, LA, same thing. They said not one case in Chicago, not one case in Minneapolis. So, okay, you can't, this virus is so smart, it stays away from Black Lives Matter protests. It stays away from Antifa protests. But as soon as people start hanging out with their friends, 20 people, oh my God, COVID cases are surging through the roof. It's the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds who want to go out and have fun. And then the media is showing all these people on Granville Street and in crowds, and that's where the viruses are coming from. And now we have to step up enforcement. So what the fuck does that mean? They're going to step up enforcement, or are they going to create another lockdown, or both? They're probably going to do a lockdown, a wave 2, lockdown 2.0. And they said they're going to do this. They said this months ago. When winter comes, we're going to have another resurgence of cases. Where they're already building up the momentum in the media. Come September, guess what's going to happen? October, November. What happens in the winter? Everyone knows this. The flu season happens, and now we're going to have the seasonal flu. Does anyone watching this think that those seasonal flus are going to be attributed to COVID-19? So we're not going to have any more seasonal flus. You're not going to be getting the flu this year. Everything's about COVID-19 come September, October, November, when everything gets dark and dreary in Vancouver and all across Canada. So they're going to lock down everything for a second time, right? And then what? We lose more of our freedoms? Are we going to become like Australia where we can't even leave our fucking house again? Like, we're prisoners. We're going to be prisoners in our home for a second time for a virus that has killed about 600,000 people across the world. And the common flu kills roughly that many as well. So I don't know what else to say with this situation, but in all honesty, I've been going to some of these protests. There's going to be a big one in September. I know it sounds weird to go out and march like a fucking idiot, but what else are we supposed to do? We need to get a lot of people, like I'm talking hundreds of thousands of people, downtown Vancouver, and show these assholes in power, fuck you, we don't believe your bullshit, we're not buying this crap anymore. It's so fucking ridiculous. It's so stupid. And here's the thing, if they really want to stop this virus, look at the situation here. First of all, who's dying? The people dying over 60, 70, 80, 90. Not just here. I watch news all over the place. I was watching the Australian news today, and the premier of Melbourne, Australia, I guess it's the state of where Melbourne, Australia, and he was just, they got the same bullshit. They got the same playbook all across the world. So the premier, Dan Andrews, I think his name is, Daniel Andrews, he's talking about the deaths, and they're actually telling the people, they're telling, he's basically saying the deaths of the people, and he's talking about their ages. Same shit going on there. The people dying in Australia, the people dying in Vancouver, the people dying all across the world are all old fucking people, for God's sakes. They all have underlying issues. 60, 70, 80, even 90 years old. They were saying that on the fucking Australian news today, and they say that here sometimes. All these people are old. They're in old folks' homes for a reason. They can't take care of themselves. They're on their last legs. They're going to die anyways. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to old people, but for God's sakes, why do they need to close down the whole fucking economy and change our whole way of life for this situation? Why can't they just close those old folks' homes, quarantine those individuals, and figure it out? You don't have to lock down 5 million people in British Columbia for this situation. Why are they doing that? Does that make sense to you, to crash the whole economy, to fuck up everyone's business, to throw people out of work? Now the unemployment rate in Canada now is about 12%. They crashed the economy, for fuck's sakes. They crashed the economy for this, for something that is no different than a regular flu. And then some people on here, oh, it's way more contagious and this and that.
Yeah, it's way more contagious. Really? Do you actually believe that? Like, when the fuck is when are people gonna get mad like me? I've been pissed off for months because I know this shit. I knew it was garbage and crap right from the beginning. About a week into it, I knew it was complete garbage, and it's just getting worse. Nothing, nothing has actually got back to normal yet. Nothing's going to get back to normal. You know why? This is not about a virus, my friends. This is not about a virus, and you can roll your eyes at me. But when Adrian Dix says this pandemic's going to be with us until 2022, you got to start wondering what the fuck that means. Are you willing to have your life in this situation until 2022? Do you want your kids wearing fucking masks until 2022? I'm not going to bring my kids back to school in this bullshit. If I have to, I'll be homeschooling. But there's no way I'm playing games. I'm not going to follow all these stupid rules. When you know something's a lie and you go along with it, you're a fucking idiot. Stand up. If you know Walmart's making you wear masks, don't go there. It's time to stand up and understand that we're losing all of our rights for absolutely no reason. This is not any reason. If this was a real virus, I'd be the first one to say, I'm not going anywhere. But just look at the situation. Like, people are just falling for this thing, hook, line, and sinker. And it's a head shaker to me that, like I said, they'll open the schools if cases are rising. If the government really cared about us and this is a real pandemic, why would they send kids back to school? Does that make any sense to anybody? Or is there something else going on here? It really doesn't make much sense to me. Why can't they just do remote learning the way they did in March and April and May? Why can't they do that? Why are they changing their tune now if there's a resurgence of cases? It doesn't really make any sense. And I really don't know what to say. But I need a bit of water here. Too stressed out over this stuff. I've done a lot of videos about this stuff, and I don't want any of you guys. We all have kids. Most of the people watching this have children. And do you want your kids to grow up in this environment? Some of you, like Kathy, she's watching. She's from a communist country. She's from Hungary. And I've talked to her dad about it. And her dad was telling me when I talked to him years ago, he said Canada is turning into a communist country. This was before all this stuff, a few years ago. And I remember those words. And he must know he was from a communist country. This is what Canada's turning into. This is what the whole world is turning into, a communist country, where we have all these rules being placed down on us for something that has a survival rate of 99.40%. It's over a 99% survival rate. So you need to ask yourself, why are they doing all this time? And like I've said this in other videos, I'm just reiterating the same stuff. But this is not the first time that we've had a pandemic or a virus. We've had the H1N1, SARS flu, swine flu, bird flu. There's been Ebola, and so forth. We've had other situations, but for some reason now they're so worried about us that they're on the news every single day, telling us the death rates. Now it's not even about the death rates because the deaths are so low that they're resorting to talking about cases, and people are falling for that scam too. Like, how stupid do you have to be to freak out when there's fucking 100 cases? Who gives a shit? So you're telling me 100 people got the flu out of 5 million? Like, are you stupid? Who cares? Who fucking gives a shit? These are not 100 people that are going to die. These are 100 people, most of them asymptomatic, meaning they have no, what the hell, I can't even think now. I'm so hyped up. But they're not showing any symptoms. There's no symptoms showing, but they're counted as having COVID-19. And how do we even know when the Our Children Matter protest? Is there a date set, or do we need to get together and plan one? Well, I'll put all this stuff, I'll post it on here, and I'll post it on Facebook. I think it's September 13th. There's supposed to be a big march downtown Vancouver. Thanks for asking, Mary Anthony. Like, the thing is, I don't like going to these marches either, but at the end of the day, we just need to show Vancouver, and we just need to come out there and just say, you know what, enough's enough. I don't want this to continue. Okay, here's the thing. Now the kids are wearing masks in school. I'm sure none of you parents want your kids to wear fucking masks in school. This is like torture to them. Why would I bring my kids kids to school if they have to wear masks. But everyone needs to understand the masks are a precursor to what's coming next, which is vaccines. It may not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not even be next month or even this year, but it's going to come, and you need to understand the stepping stones that they're using. So first it's masks, and they want you to get all pissed off about wearing masks. They want to make your life difficult, so then when the vaccines come, you'll be much more willing to acquiesce and get your children and yourself vaccinated from this deadly disease that has an over 99% survival rate. So what's the bottom line then? Well, when the vaccine is available, guess what? Now your kids don't have to wear a mask, my friends. All they need to do is get vaccinated for a virus that has a 99.60, whatever it is, survival rate. So who in their right mind is going to get a vaccine? Who's going to get vaccinated when there's a 99% survival rate? We're all healthy people. Why would we take a vaccine that's going to get fast-tracked in under a year? How stupid are we? How dumb are we? When are we going to start asking questions and realizing government is not there to help us? They're not there to benefit us. They're simply there to control us, line their own pockets. It's all about corruption and control. I don't know what else to say. For me, it's very black and white. It's very cut and dry because I'm a conspiracy theorist, and everyone thought, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. He's a nice guy, but he's a little bit weird. He listens to Alex Jones, and he posts all this stuff about mandatory vaccines and New World Order, this and that. We're here. We're pretty much here. It's just going to happen. It's just a little bit more. The masks are mandatory. That's another thing. Masks are mandatory. Not at the beginning of a pandemic in March. No, not at all. No. It's 7 months later. Now masks are mandatory. If this was such a deadly disease, if these health experts are actually experts, shouldn't they have known to tell us to wear a mask in the beginning of this pandemic? Like if this is their job, don't you know your job? If this is an airborne disease, if this virus is so transmittable, why didn't they tell us to wear a fucking mask in the beginning of all this? 7 months later, in the middle of summer, and now it's warm. We're in August here in Vancouver, and now people are walking around wearing masks outside like it's the smartest thing to do ever. What about the fact that the vaccines are not 100% effective? Yeah, of course they're not 100% effective. And they have vaccine liability, which means you can't even sue these people. So these people are going to fucking inject us with God knows what. We can't even sue them. And they didn't say mandatory vaccines here, but that's what they said in Australia today. But even if it's not mandatory, like I've said in other videos, it doesn't really matter. The government doesn't have to make them mandatory. All they have to do is make your life very difficult. For instance, you can't go to Walmart now in East Vancouver, just up the street in Grandview. You can't go there unless you wear a mask. So just think about it for a minute. How difficult is it to understand that when the vaccine is available, hey, vaccine's available, guys. All you need to do is get the vaccine. You can walk right into Walmart, no more masks. But if you don't have the vaccine, sorry, we cannot let you into Walmart because we cannot determine if you're safe to do so, and we don't want to infect any of our other patrons, any of our other customers. So you cannot shop in the store unless you are vaccinated. You're more than willing to shop on Walmart.com online, but you're not allowed to go into the store. Also, you cannot go on any planes and take a flight everywhere, which means you can never go outside the country. I can never go to Las Vegas. You guys can never, ever go to Mexico unless you're vaccinated. Oh, and to keep everybody safe, sorry, but your children cannot go back to any kinds of public schools or private schools because the private schools also receive funding from our government. So you can't go back to school unless your children are vaccinated. But if your children have a problem with the vaccine, sorry about that. Go fuck yourselves. You're not going to get anything from the government. And the person pushing the vaccines, Bill Gates, and he's met all the different world leaders in all the different countries, including our good friend Justin Trudeau. You can read that on his Twitter. He's met up with Justin Trudeau. So you're telling me we're going to trust the guy, Bill Gates, who's funding the vaccine development. He's funding the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization is the organization above governments that's dictating all the different requirements, rules, and regulations regarding regarding COVID-19. So anything you see rolling out of Dr. Bonnie Henry's mouth, anything you see rolling out of Theresa Tam's mouth or Justin Trudeau, guess what? They're getting all their talking points. They're getting their orders from WHO, which is funded. The number one funder is Bill Gates. It used to be the United States of America, but everyone hates Trump. He's a racist asshole, but he's the one who actually stopped funding the WHO. So you can think whatever you want of Trump, but understand that all of this shit is basically, if you break it down, is coming from Bill Gates and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Sure, there's other players involved. He's he's the one who's also funding research and development of the vaccines through different companies. I think I think we have a contract now. I think it might be with Pfizer and Moderna, who have the contract to vaccinate all 37 million of us in Canada. And Bill Gates is the one who's funding them, so he's going to reap the rewards. And he's the one who came on MSNBC stating that that the return on investment that he's doing in these vaccines is 20 to 1. If he puts in $1 million into vaccine development, he'll make $20 million back. Look all this shit up. I am not blowing hot air out of my ass. And I don't know why people have a hard time believing this. I guess some people are too good and they don't understand that there's corruption at the highest levels of the world. And good on you for being such a good person that you can't see corruption. Maybe I'm more corrupt, but I can see right through this bullshit. It's very easy for me to understand that we're being played like a bunch of idiots. So at the end of the day, either you stand up now. Well, Kathy, they are going to vaccinate us and chip us at the same time. The chip is not a digital chip. It's called nanotechnology. It's actually microscopic. It's a microscopic chip that's actually in the vaccine. It goes into your bloodstream. So this is all stuff that's written about in the Bible. And thank God you guys understand this. I'm preaching to the choir now. It's a lot of people understand what's going on. A lot of people get what's going on. So why are we going to put a vaccine in our bodies that to get us protected from a virus that has a 99.60% survival rate, that on top of it has nanochip technology, and they actually have papers on this shit. There's like white papers specifically stating from MIT University, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I have this shit I actually have the webpage open on my computer. And who's funding that? Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It says right at the bottom, funding provided by Bill and Melinda Gates. So he's the one, his foundation, he himself is actually funding the development of this nanochip technology. And what's in the technology? Well, they state that this technology, this microscopic chip, is to show that you have been vaccinated. So basically, when am I running for president? Well, I wouldn't make it to president because I'm not corrupt enough, not enough of an asshole to do that job. But at the end of the day, this is what's going to happen. They want to chip everybody, like you guys understand. And the bottom line is this. They're going to have the vaccine information stating when you've been vaccinated, what vaccines you've been taken in the actual ID, in the actual vaccine. And it's called a digital ID. So what they're going to be able to do is use some kind of scanning device on your arm, and then it'll pop up on a screen showing you the date you've been vaccinated, what you've been vaccinated from. Once again, some of the people on here who don't believe this, look the shit up. This is not a time to be laughing at people. If you wanted to laugh at conspiracy theorists, you had a good run. You had about until 2015, 16, something like that. Those days are over. Now it's time to get your head out of your ass, wake up, and understand that none of this stuff is conspiracy theory anymore. Sure, back then you could laugh because it wasn't all coming out in the news. We didn't have all the information to support it from university papers and university websites, .edu websites, meaning these are legitimate sources. And when they state that they're getting funded from Bill and Melinda Gates, well, how much information do you need to understand and realize that all this stuff is real? It's just a matter of them implementing it. That's all it is. It's very easy to see, and we stand up now or we're going to stand up later. But either way, we're going to have to stand up. I am, anyways. I'm doing it now, and I'm done with all this shit. I have been posting videos and talking about this shit since March because I'm done with it. I don't care what people think about me anymore. I'm done with all that stuff, or else I wouldn't be coming on here. If I didn't know what I was talking about, if I couldn't prove this shit was real, it is real. If I couldn't prove that, trust me, I wouldn't be showing my face. I wouldn't be doing these live videos on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, unless I know what I was talking about. I'm not that kind of person. I want facts. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. All this information I'm talking to you about is real. All you need to do is a couple of searches and it all pops up. So at the end of the day, do we really want to get vaccinated and have some kind of tracking system like a fucking cat? The cats have microchips, but they're a little different. They're a little bit bigger. The ones that they're going to give to the humans are digital IDs. But at the end of the day, the technology is already available. It's already in our pets. My cat has a fucking chip in it. So this is not something from coming from Star Trek. It's here. It's available. And the white paper I'm talking about where Bill and Melinda Gates funded this stuff was from December 4th, I think, 2019. Good night, Marianthe. About 6, 7, 8 months ago or whatever. So it's here and it's real. So, and here's the thing. Eventually what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to go into any single store without this mark of the beast. This is in the Bible, the book of Revelations. If you're not religious, it really doesn't matter. The iPhone is already tracking us totally. If you're not religious, it really doesn't matter. All this stuff is in the book of Revelations, the mark of the beast, where it says you will not be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast, which will either be in your forehead or your right arm or whatever. We're at that point now almost. We're almost here. It's just a little bit more. Once the vaccine is here, who knows? They might have the chip in it in this run or the next run, but it's already here. The technology is here. Why would they create the technology unless they're going to use it, right? Common sense at this point. It's just so easy to see. And they're going to say it's to keep everyone safe and stuff like that. And it's never going to end. I'm not going to be able to go down to Vegas anymore now unless I get chipped. I guess not. I'm not going to take a fucking vaccine that has a chip in it. Because the thing is, from what I've read, this vaccine is actually going to alter your DNA. That's what they say. I don't know if that's true. That makes sense to me. With all the technology, why do they want to do all this stuff? It's total control of the world. They want to be able to track everything. Eventually, you're going to have your credit card information also in these vaccines. And please don't roll your eyes, because if they can have your vaccination records in the digital ID, obviously they can have your driver's license information there. They can have your credit card information, your passport information. All your information will be in this ID. And we will not be able to go on planes. We're not going to be able to buy. Buying means going into stores. Obviously, we're not going to be able to go into places like Walmart. Even Winners down the street, for fuck's sakes. I just read today that they want mandatory masks. The SkyTrain, mandatory masks. When the hell is this shit going to end? And remember, this is 7 to 8 months later after this stupid virus came into our lives. So how does that make any sense? I think they're just making the masks mandatory because they want to keep the fear up. They want to scare people because right now, nothing's really happening. They're talking about cases, and there's the odd death here and there. Big deal. People die all the time. All the people dying are old folks. But like I said, now our kids, healthy kids that have strong immune systems, have to wear masks. When the hell is this going to end? We really do have to stand up, because at the end of the day, if we don't stand up for our kids, your kids are going to ask you, Mommy, Daddy, what were you doing when they were taking over the world? What were you doing? Are you going to just sit here and fucking post videos of your cat and your dog and what you ate last night? Or are you going to start standing up and having awkward conversations like this? Do you think I want to come on here and start yelling onto a fucking phone with friends of mine? Obviously, most of you guys are on board, but some of you guys probably still think I'm crazy from the names I've seen. That's fine. I don't care. I don't care anymore. Once you know you're right about something, you have to stand up. Even if you're the only person in the room and there's 20 other people who mock you and laugh at you and make fun of you, who gives a shit? The truth is always the truth. Doesn't matter if there's one person telling the truth and 100 people who aren't telling the truth. Always stand up for what you believe is right. Especially when we are in such a historical time in world history. This is a time that's been written about in the fucking Bible, for God's sakes. This is not just some just random event that's going to come into our lives and go out of our lives. This is something that is going to continue until we fix it. And it's not just a local issue. It's not a province-wide issue or a country issue. Worldwide issue. My cousins and relatives in Italy are going through the same things. My cousins in New York going through the same things. Your relatives in other parts of the world are going through the same fucking things. All of us. This is a systematic plan rolled out by the satanic elites above governments that run everything from the media to pharmaceutical to the banking system. And this is where it starts getting into what some people think are conspiracy theories. But at the end of the day, in order to implement everything they've done, in order to shut down everything worldwide, you think that they needed a lot of power? Yes, they do. And they do have all the power in the world. It is a business. And they're running everything. But here's the good part. There's 7 billion of us, and there's about 20,000 of these corrupt assholes across the world. I'm talking about mayors, presidents, prime ministers, and health officials in different countries. About 20,000. So I see a way out of this. For fuck's sakes, this whole thing could stop tomorrow. You know how you stop this? You don't even have to protest. But protesting is good visually, because if you see 100,000 people, that's quite the sight, downtown Vancouver in September. But at the end of the day, this is how you do it. Stop following orders. That's all you do. You don't have to fight. You don't have to really argue. All you do is stop following orders. If Walmart wants to make masks mandatory, fuck Walmart, go to Save on Foods. If they want to make it mandatory at Save on Foods, go to Red Apple and Hastings Street. Whatever it takes. Make these people suffer in the pocketbook. If the governments want to make masks at school, fuck you. I'm not bringing my kids back to school. I don't give a shit. You know why? What you need to understand is this is not a regular situation. This whole thing is not going to blow over. So don't worry about your kids' education right now. Please don't. We have much bigger fish to fry than our kids' education. Because at the end of the day, the last thing you want to do is have your kids in the school and then, they say there's an outbreak at your school and all of a sudden you have to quarantine your kids for 2 weeks at home for a fake flu, or maybe they quarantine them at the school or quarantine them in special quarantine facilities like they're doing in New Zealand. Look it up. That's what they're doing there. So we don't want to bring our kids back to school. We need, and even besides that, we need to bring our power back. We do that in numbers. How we do that? Like I said, stop following orders. Don't bring your kids back to school. Check this out. Very simple. If there's 20 kids in the class and 10 of the kids don't go back to school, what do you think the principal is going to do about that? He can't order you to bring your kids back to school. Guess what happens? He's going to have to figure out something else. And what's going to be that something else? They're going to be doing teaching, hybrid teaching from home, meaning your kids will learn on the computer. That's what you want to do. You want to keep your kids next to you safe in this dangerous, fucked up time. It's not a time to play games. And if the principal asks you why you don't want to bring your kids back, just say, I don't feel safe. The cases are rising. The cases are going to continue to rise. You know why? Because they want to make it seem like this pandemic is still going on. So play their game. If they want to make it seem like the cases are rising, sorry, I'm scared. I don't want my kids to go back to school. I'm scared that they might get the virus and they might get sick or whatever. Just play some bullshit card. Play their game with them. Because these people want to have everything. They want to fucking make it seem like this is a pandemic, but you can bring your kids back to school. It's bullshit. Keep your kids at home. Start taking your power back. Don't acquiesce and stop following orders. This is how you do it. All you need to do is start talking to parents in the class. Ask them, what are you doing? Are you going to bring your kids back? And just tell them, just say, do you think it's wise to bring your kids back to a school? Meanwhile, the cases are rising. Start to make people think. And some people aren't going to bring their kids back for a couple of different reasons. Some people don't want to bring them back like me because I don't want to follow this shit. Other people are scared to bring their kids back. But that's going to work to our benefit in this situation, because as long as the classrooms are empty, then the kids can stay at home and learn on their laptops. In this situation, this is the best thing to do to keep our kids safe and out of their bullshit. Besides that, I'm not going to make my kids wear masks like idiots when I don't believe in this whole situation. That means if my kids are wearing a mask, that means I believe in this. And I don't want anyone thinking that I believe in this situation. At the end of the day, don't follow any orders. Do everything you can in order to be a chink in the system. And in order to be, and I don't mean a chink like Chinese, I mean like, a chink in the armor, meaning a disruptant in their whole agenda. This is a plan. This whole thing is a worldwide agenda. If you look at news in any single country or city across the world, they're going through the exact same thing. And the health officials and government officials are saying the exact same thing because they're dictating this. All the rules and regulations are coming down from the World Health Organization. They're telling all the different countries what to say and what to do. So don't follow orders anymore. This is the most important thing you can do, is start paying attention and just doing whatever it is you want. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Don't bring your kids back to school, and fight back. Tell people how you feel. When I go into places like Walmart, I tell them I don't want to wear, well, not Walmart, there's other places like Costco. They ask me if I want to wear a mask. No. Who cares how you feel? It's time to get uncomfortable, and it's time to speak up. That's another thing, like I was saying, is start talking about this with other people and just kind of tell them, do you think this is actually a real virus? Good night, Kathy. Start talking to them and ask them, do you really think this is a real virus? Do you think they should shut down the whole economy and destroy people's lives? Now we have a 12% unemployment rate for a virus that has killed, just roughly the same amount as a regular flu every year. If they cared about it so much, then they would be doing this every single year, not just this year. Every single year since every single virus has come out. Why now do they care about us so much? That's what you need to ask yourself. Why is it that they care so much this year when every single other year of our lives they've never cared? Just this year, all of a sudden, they care so much. Is something else going on here that we're not aware of? The answer is, of course, yes. There's something else going on here, and a lot of people still, for whatever reason, either don't want to believe it or think that they're too smart to fall for conspiracy theories, which is the most ridiculous thing, because there is no conspiracy theory. Everything I've pretty much stated is out in the open. It's common sense. It's just at this point, it's either you want to believe this or you don't. And if you don't want to believe it, start speaking up and start fighting back, because none of this shit's going to end. Adrian Dix is going to drag this shit out until 2022, he said. It's a year and a half from now. I don't want to go on seeing all these assholes wearing masks, walking around my neighborhood outside in the middle of the hot weather like a bunch of morons. They look like robotic jackasses. And it's not going to end. It's not going to end. It's really scary that people are still thinking this is legit. It's weird to me. Like, I don't get it. And you see those people at Starbucks wearing masks and shit like that. Like, so if you're wearing a mask, that means you think this is a real disease. But then you don't mind getting a Starbucks coffee, someone's touching it with their hands and shit like that. Like, how fucking stupid are you? If this is a real disease, if this is a real virus, why are you even shopping why are you going to any restaurants? Why are you going to Starbucks? These people are such morons. They're so contradictory. It blows my mind. If this is a real disease, stay the fuck home. Stop wearing your mask everywhere, especially if you're going to go make your own coffee. If you're scared of getting the virus, you retards, you stupid idiots. And it's unreal. I see so many people, and this is not even just Asians, all kinds of people, white people, girls in their 20s and 30s, guys who work out, big dudes wearing a mask. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't get it. Like, where is everyone's head at nowadays? It really blows my mind. It is amazing to me how people have fallen for this whole shit show, hook, line, and sinker. It's ridiculous that people still, like, I understand the first month, 2 months, 3 months. Buddy, we're into this thing 6-7 months now. Get your head out of your ass. Wake up. If you don't want to believe in conspiracy theories, fine. But still, you still think this is real? You don't think something else is going on? And if you answer the question, I don't think it's real, then answer this. What the hell is going on then? And if you don't know what's going on, start researching, because none of this shit makes any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. And the reason it doesn't make any sense is because something else nefarious is going on, like I've already explained. It's about total control. Now they've completely crashed the economy, and they're going to make a cashless society as well. A lot of places don't even accept cash anymore. That was also part of the mark of the beast system, where you're going to have your money in your chip. You're going to pay cashless. There's not going to be money anymore. You can see that already. You can see that some places of business don't want to accept cash because it's dirty and they might have COVID-19. Like JJ Bean, now they accept cash, but they weren't accepting cash. They got us right where they want us. Yes, they do, PT Cruisin'. But they don't have us unless we want them to have us. All we need to do is stand up as a collective and say no. Like I said, you don't even have to fight back. If JJ Bean doesn't want to accept your cash, just say, fine, I'm never going to shop here again. If you don't want my fucking money, fuck you. I'll go down to another place that is accepting cash, and you can lose my business. Wear a mask and follow the arrows. Yeah, it's like we're in high school, and they tell us to wash our hands and stay 6 feet apart. It's like we're not high school. It's like we're in kindergarten or preschool. It's fucking ridiculous. This stuff doesn't make sense. They treat us like little kids. They want us to follow all their rules and regulations like we're morons. You know what? We're not morons. A lot of people think this is temporary, and even if they don't like what's going on, they're just following because they think this is going to end. The only time it's going to end is when they state on the news the vaccine is ready and it's going to be available. And like I said, they're going to eventually make it very difficult to have a regular life without taking this vaccine. But why are we going to take a vaccine for something that has a 99 point whatever survival rate? Why? Why would we do that? Are we stupid? Are you guys going to give your kids a vaccine for this flu? And here's the other thing. This is a form of flu. If you look at the statistics, once again, I'm not blowing hot air out of my ass. All this shit is easily found information. When you take the vaccine shot, it has between a 30 and 50% effectiveness. So even if you take this vaccine, it might only help between 30 and 50%. So what happens to the other 50% of the people, or between 50 and 80% of the people who take this vaccine and it doesn't help them? Like, when is this shit gonna end? And the answer is, it's never gonna end. It's never gonna end until we make it end. So we all have to stand the fuck up. And that's what we gotta do. We have to stand up. And whichever way we choose to do it now. And now is the time. It's a long time, guys. We're getting used to the situation. That's the wrong thing to do. Don't get used to this life. We want our old lives back, and that's another thing. They keep saying this is the new normal. You know why they keep stating that fact is because they want us to get used to being controlled and following these ridiculous orders and mandates. All this shit is totally fake. This is not the new normal unless we make it the new normal. Fight for your life. It's all about your kids. Do you want your kids to live in this life after you're gone and dead? Most of us are going to be alive for the next 30 years. And I definitely don't want to see this situation get any worse. In Australia and Melbourne, they got the military on the streets there now, and they have a full-blown curfew. And you can't leave your house between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. And you can only go out for an hour of exercise per day. No one's allowed to go to work unless you're essential, whatever the hell that means. You're only allowed to go shopping, one person from your family, once per day. And that's about it. So, and they got military on the streets, and you got to wear masks everywhere. These people are Melbourne, Australia is in a form of martial law at the present time. And this is Australia. This is not the Middle East. This is not China. This is Australia, a Commonwealth country like Canada. And they're in winter. Right now we're in summer. So you need to look at Australia. And New Zealand has also been locked down because they have 17 cases. It's ridiculous if you start actually paying attention to other countries, what's going on. So Australia, New Zealand, they are in the winter months. So understand that that's where we're headed. That's why they're talking about a resurgence of cases. They're trying to build up the momentum so when winter comes and people start dying from the regular flu that they're going to attribute to COVID-19, we're going to fall for this whole scam. No, we're not going to fall for this scam because I'm speaking out and there's a lot of people speaking out. And the thing is, you need to realize that it could easily come here. Even for me, it's hard to believe this. But remember, Australia is a Commonwealth country, and now they're under total lockdown, under military law. I got a couple minutes left here, guys, a couple seconds actually. But don't think that military law, military enforcement can't come here, martial law, whatever you want to call it. If there's a second lockdown, I strongly suggest stocking up now, because we don't have too much time left until the lockdown. I got 7 seconds left. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you found this informative. Thank you. Have a great night. All the